Brother Zarif, our chapter president. I appreciate all the great things you're doing. It's 8:30, so the heat just tipped off, and I figured I'll speak until the game was over. About an hour, 50, no. But anyway, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for inspiring me with the topic this evening, from the high chair to higher education. I look forward to sharing those terms. Brother Thomas is doing an excellent job as a board chair. For giving him a hand. And I also know we have in our midst our brother Alonzo Terry, one of our leaders in the state of Michigan. Thank you for being here, and thank you. Until the media left, I can't go without speaking of good brother Relentless Pilgrim. That brother was there 17 years ago when I crossed the burning sands. And no, we didn't have any hazing activities going on, brother. Yeah. You made it right before, brother. Glad to say that. Yes, sir. And I have a very special guest I want to introduce. My beloved wife. Hey, sweetheart, how you doing? Good. Yeah, I know you don't like when I do that, but it's something I had to say. If I could marry you again, I would. I don't know if you would marry me, but I would try. But I love you much. You're a great wife, great supporter, and great mother, sweetheart. I just want to let the world know that. I appreciate you, okay? All right. With that being said, thank you. We're here tonight for a wonderful thing, to be able to acknowledge our young people and what they're doing. And I enjoy having an opportunity to present. Just earlier this week, I was speaking to a group of award recipients at Peckham, some young people who had overcome some challenges, some at-risk issues that were going on. And when I was preparing those remarks, I couldn't help but think about tonight, how there's a connection, but then there's a difference as well. But this is a celebration, and I want to share some remarks from that. Cicero, known for being Roman history's greatest orator at times, he stated, and I quote, "Not to know what has been transacted in former times is to always be a child. If no use is made of the labors of past ages, the world must remain always in infancy of knowledge." And we can take a lot from that. But what I take from that is that if we don't reflect on our past, then we won't grow. And I say that especially to our graduates and recipients who are here tonight. So know that going forward, that from the high chair to higher education is very important. But I also want to take this moment to talk about our symbolic movement as a people, from slaves to scholars. So with that, we want to celebrate you and your higher education attainments. There's so many benefits that's going to come with higher education, you may know already. They talk about the career benefits. You always hear people say you can make more than $1 million in a lifetime other than a high school graduate. The social benefits, they say you're less likely to live in poverty by having a college education. The societal benefits, they talk about you can go on and help stimulate the economy. I know our president would love to hear that going forward. And the personal benefits. They say that a college graduate is more sensitive to cultural issues, and I think back to my college days, and that made sense. I was able to be a little bit more broad in my horizons. And they also even say through the Center for Disease Control that college graduates are less likely to smoke. That's a great thing. Those are our great benefits, but there's one more category I want to talk about. Those Big Mama's benefits. Big Mama talked about a college graduation and a college graduate and college education being something no one can take from you. And she knew that so well. She knew how there was a time when learning to read would result in brutality. She knew of a time when the president and the National Guard knew of their limits of power, when you had a racist governor, you had racist mobs, and you had dogs standing in the way to prevent young African American men and women to go on to high school and college, what you're going to do in the next few months with no ceremony. So understand that coming from where we've been to where we are now, there's an important duty that falls upon you. Now, I would be remiss also if I didn't talk about the great dichotomy. You guys have to break away from your social media at times and do your research about the great dichotomy between our brother W.B. Du Bois, the Boers, depending on where you come from, but W.B. Du Bois, as well as Booker T. Washington. W.B. Du Bois was the first African American to graduate from Harvard with a PhD. Booker T. Washington, born a slave, went on to become an advisor to U.S. presidents and the voice for the disenfranchised. And they had a great dichotomy. They had a great division in their thoughts. This was based on Booker T. Washington's Atlanta Compromise speech that happened in about 1896, predating our fraternity. And during that speech, ladies and gentlemen, what happened is Booker T talked about African Americans not pursuing higher education, but working on becoming skilled laborers. The term "pull yourself up by your bootstraps" was coined then. Now, right now, we can have that argument that some are not college ready, some are not college bound, but the opposite of that argument was W.B. Du Bois, who talked about the talented 10th. It was a term that was created by white liberals, but he put that in effect. And he meant that 1 in 10 African American men and women will be able to go on and get their education, go on and write books, go on and be a part of the social change. Now, Zelani, I think that this group right here, I think this was the first rap beef that happened a long time ago. You had two brothers with polar opposite views, very articulate. They was beefing about something that happened in Atlanta, and that sounded like a rap beef to me. My point being, going forward, it's really important on the serious note that you guys know what your history is. And I also want you to know that as you prepare to go to these college campuses, don't get caught up in that alphabet soup of success. What I mean by that is the O's, the Obamas, and the Oprahs and their success, the J's and the B's, Jay-Z and Beyonce and their success, because they don't represent the masses. So you have to understand that even though we're here celebrating you tonight, our people are still struggling. And you have a responsibility, an obligation, just as the men of Alpha Phi Alpha that supported you, to be able to go on and reach your goals and be supportive of this community. I had the pleasure of being with Governor Granholm and working with Teresa there as her law clerk. We had the experience of being in the company of President Clinton several times. And I'll never forget backstage at the Fox Theater having a very intimate conversation with him. And he talked about his growth being a boy down in Arkansas, Lee. He talked about some soft-shell turtles. I never heard of that. Soft-shell turtles. He said, yes, you know about soft-shell turtles. And he said as a little boy, he would step on these turtles. And of course, it would kill him. And whenever I asked him why he would do it, his response was, because I could. Now, at the time, he didn't know that his legacy was going to be the 42nd president of the United States. And I'm sure if he knew that, he would conduct himself differently. You all, however, know what your legacy is. So I don't need you doing things just because you can. Now, when you go to this college campus, it's going to be a time of great transformation, great freedom. I always like to say college is like being in high school, but everybody living across the street together and no parents. You can imagine what that could be like. But when you do this, you must keep in mind that you can't let your clothes to be that of a brother sagging his pants to his knees, which I just saw, and I still can't get over that. Young ladies, you can't let this be an opportunity where you're going to choose to dress in a way that you wouldn't dress any other way. All that just because you can. Because you have a legacy you have to live up to. I'll tell you my personal story. When I was on the campus at Western Michigan University, I always argue, and I agree that they say sometimes college should be only 2 years. And there's been studies saying that because after the 3rd year, you kind of waste your time, you can condense all that. And I'll tell you my personal story. I had to make a decision. I had to make a decision my junior year. Was I going to sit on campus and hang out over the summer, run on my credit cards and smoke weed? Yeah, it's weed in college if you didn't know. Just let you know we have an adult conversation. Then I had to make a different decision on what I was going to do. I decided to join the United States Marine Corps as a reservist. Now, I'm not encouraging you all to go to the armed services, but my point being is there's going to come a time, young men and women, when you're going to have to make a decision between your personal achievements and making an impact. And I had to make that decision just a few years ago when I left corporate America. As Brother Haywood said in the introduction, was with Walmart, the largest retailer in the world, Fortune 1 corporation, 6-figure salary, company car, credit card, travel the country, preparing to travel the world. It was a great experience. Then my beautiful wife came to me with news that was the second best news I've heard since she said I do, and that was that we were having a baby. And Lee, like any parent, you start thinking about, what if she asked me this, and what if she asked me that? And I thought about that time when she was going to come to me and say, Daddy, I want to follow my dreams and passions, what should I do? And Lord, I was stumped. I said, how can I answer her genuinely if I haven't followed my dreams and passions? So I had to make a decision between putting my purpose and my passion over profits. And you're going to be faced with that one day. I'm not telling you not to go on and make as much money as possible, but I'm telling you when that time comes, when you have to make a decision, is it about money or be making an impact? Hopefully you'll choose making an impact, and I think you'll be able to do that. So with that experience, it's been a wonderful time. I left corporate America, and as the introduction said, started my consulting company, wrote a book on athletes and charity. And I never thought it would take me on the ride that I've been on. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time, and from that experience, I've been inspired, and we're launching a nonprofit so we can have more of an impact on young people. So what I'm telling you, as we use sports as a backdrop, and they use the term WAR, which is wins above replacement. And that's a term that means that a player like LeBron James, how do you equate him being gone from the team? And you do a statistical analysis and you try to put all his numbers together and it shows you that this is the kind of impact he has on the team. Well, see, you guys are LeBron and LeBronette James, that is. We need you in the game. We need you to be committed. You are our unlikely saviors. You are our first round draft picks. You are our talented 10th. You are the ones that have to go on and carry us to the next generation. And staying with the theme of sports, just know that in anything there's going to be some challenges. We're celebrating you right now, and times are great, but there's going to come some challenges. The road to success is littered with failures along the way. So do know that it's the challenges that are going to make you strong. It's the things that you work hard for that are going to make you a stronger person going forward. Nick Saban is a championship coach. 3 championships in 4 years. He's doing great things in college football. I had the pleasure of being with someone who was being recruited by him. His son was being recruited. And he told me the story of what Nick Saban says when he meets each recruit. This guy was going to be a kicker. And he said, I'm going to watch you kick, but I'm not concerned with how many field goals you make. I'm concerned about what you do when you miss. You see, because when you miss a field goal and your mind is no longer in the game, when you come back on the field, there are 10 players to 11. We're going to lose every time. You see, young people, it's not about your achievements. It's about how you respond to the challenges. I'll tell you a story about a gentleman named Morris Goodman. Morris was 35 years old at the time, and he was one of the best salespersons of insurance in the country. Number 2, he had a 5,000 square foot home, and drove a Cadillac, was living life. He had just bought a Cessna, single-engine plane. And he was traveling the day after he bought that plane, and he tells a story that the horizon looked so beautiful. It looked like diamonds, is what he said. And then he said, in an instant, he crashed because there were some power lines and he went down. And 20 minutes later, he's in the hospital. And after a 9-hour operation where his family was told to prepare for the worst, prepare for him not to be able to have functioning below his ears. He had a broken back, broken neck, crushed larynx. But he said right then, he lived for the moment when he'll be able to walk out of the hospital and be able to live a life without tubes in his body, helping him breathe and not being in a wheelchair. And 8 months to the day he did that. He walked out of that hospital. That's because he had made a decision. It's the same decision you're going to be faced with. That decision was, no matter what adversity I have, I'm going to rise above that. No matter what challenge I get, something greater can come from it. Now Morris Goodman travels the world. He's known as the Miracle Man. He's doing motivational speaking all throughout, having much more of an impact than he did. And those are the things you want to keep in mind. Now, he has 6 steps to success. I want to read those to you before we wrap up. Number 1, he says, in life, it doesn't matter how many times you stumble and fall down, but how many times you stumble and get back up. He also says, live each day as if it's your last, and it might be. Now, to Stephen, Micah, and all you brothers and sisters, I got to tell you, don't go into YOLO. You only live once. I'm not talking about that. Yeah, that's a little reckless behavior. I'm saying, but you want to live as it's your last day. Today was a passing and a ceremony for Brother Bonner, and I have to say, our brother Jermaine Bird, a young brother from Gamma Lambda, who was my friend who passed just recently, 34 years old, 2 children at home. Me and this brother were interns in high school together. And here he is, he passed away. Life is so fleeting. So that's why you want to live every day as if you're last, because you will always give your best presentation. Number 3, he says, set goals you can be passionate about, because passion is power. When I left corporate America, I can go on every day because I was passionate about the work I was going to be doing, and that kept me going forward. Number 4, in order to receive, you have to believe. Whatever you're trying to accomplish, you have to believe that you can do it. When I went out to write this book on athletes and charity, and it'll be available later on if you guys are interested, but to the graduates, I have a complimentary copy for you. When I went out to write this book, I didn't know all these athletes. I didn't have a Rolodex full of athletes. My first interview was with Jalen Rose. I saw Jalen years ago at a golf outing and ran into him again at his own. I said, Jalen, I want to write a book on athletes and charity. I want you to be in it. He said, sure, man, give me a call. That's what he told me, Teresa. I said, man, I don't have your number. I don't know you like that. But my point is, when you have a passion and a purpose, the world's going to make a way. I had a few conversations on that Saturday. My phone rings. Hello, this is Jalen Rose. We talked for more than an hour about the great things he's doing in Detroit, about what he wants to do to impact the next generation. My point being is, in order to receive it, you have to believe it. And number 5, this should have been number 1, start each day with prayer. Thank God for everything you have. Your gratitude will improve your attitude. I can say this. Anything you try to accomplish in life, whether it's the students or all our people who are here, if you don't have the Spirit in you, if you don't have God in your life, it's going to fail. It's going to fail. So keep that in mind. Keep God first. And number 6, he said, money is important. But remember, money isn't everything. Now, I'll be the last one to tell you not to go on and achieve all that you can and provide the best for your family. But money isn't everything. There's going to come a time when you have to make a decision. Is it about the money or doing something different? That Powerball we all wish we could have got our hands on. I'll tell you this, Jelani said, yeah, man, I could have did you to quit school, huh? But my thought is this. If your life isn't in order, if your family isn't in order, if your spirit isn't in order, that Powerball will just tear you apart. So it's not going to be about the money, young men and women. I'll just go further and say, you're going to make the money. That's not going to be a problem. You're going to make the money. You're smart, you're intelligent, you got great support. You're going to make the money. But you want to be about making an impact. So as I say to Amber and Siobhan and Bronson, Mike, and Stephen, just know going forward that there are going to be some challenges along the way. And I'm here to say on this day, I wish you challenged. I wish you struggled. And this is not coming from an attitude of misery loves company, but I know that when you're making steel, the hotter the steel, the harder the metal. Diamonds start off as a rough piece of coal, unattractive to the eye, but after time and pressure and time, that diamond becomes something the whole world wants to behold. And as you go through these challenges, you'll be like that phoenix. I love to tell the story of the phoenix. Phoenix was known as a mythical creature. It was as beautiful as an eagle, and it would sing a song so beautiful that sun god Apollo would stop and listen. And when that phoenix life was lived near the end, it would live for between 500 and 12,000 years. It would go into the mountains. It would build a nest. And it would allow itself to be burned and consumed by the fire that it built. And it would burn the ashes, Stephen. Then after it would rise from its ashes, and that phoenix would go on to live as long as its life before. My point being is, when you go on to college, there are going to be some phoenix moments. There's going to be some times when you can't do as good as you've done before. So think back to this moment when we celebrated you. Think back to this moment when we talked about how you're the talented 10th, and you have to carry a lot more. Think back to these moments. And when you do that, you'll realize that all your struggles are not just for you. I realized that early on as a new business person sitting at home with a wife and a daughter and a new business and having my own challenges. And I'm saying, why am I going through this? It's not just for me. I realized this is for my daughter. So I can tell her about the challenges that are coming. I made a decision right there. I said I want to write her a poem that I can read to her one day, or that she can find herself and be inspired by. And I'll share this with you as I close. It's called Valleys and Peaks. This starts by saying, Dear Madeline, I once saw a high peak off in the distance. And it was my goal to reach, and I knew I could if I remained persistent. But when I started out towards my destination, I thought many would come with me, but there was a lot of hesitation. The reason I realized many didn't come with me was because they heard the path was hard and it was not going to be easy. But that still did not stop me from making my plans, because I knew if you wanted to go somewhere nice, you would not have a lot of fans. And then I heard a voice that would guide me along the way. It said, no matter what, throughout this journey, continue to pray. Because if you want to go high, you have to spend a lot of time low. And that way you'll know which way to go. Because valleys and peaks are like days and night, meaning after the darkness, there will always be light. So the next time you're in your valley, you be of good cheer, because it only means your next peak is near. Your next peak is near, young men and women. You're going to go on and do some great things. You have a great support system. But remember, you are a talented 10th. Go on and do great things, but help bring this generation to where they need to be. I'm so happy when I see your faces and see your accomplishments, because the other side of the coin is not happening like that. So go on and do your things. Take care of your family, your loved ones, but you give back in some way or form. And I know you will. And we're so proud of you. So congratulations to you. Thank you all for having me. Godspeed. Thank you so much.
I want to thank Brother Huddleston again for his lovely speech. And I'm just here to present to him a token of our appreciation. So on behalf of the Capital Atlanta chapter, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, we have here certificate of appreciation to Brother Lindsay W. Huddleston II in recognition of your service, enlightenment, and empowerment as a keynote speaker at the 2013 Black and Gold Scholarship Ball on this first day of June 2013.
Well, thank you very much.